Hello everyone, my name is Umang Bhatt and today's topic of my presentation is managing your source code files better. You can contact me at bhatt.umang7@gmail.com. I am a student at Charusat and I'm morely interested in computers. So let's begin with our presentation. Before starting the presentation, we should ask ourselves why this presentation is needed. You must be managing your source code files, that means your programs on your hard drives. So is this presentation really needed? Do you need this presentation, or should I be giving this presentation to you, or is this talk necessary? So we need to figure out whether this talk is necessary or not. So I would ask to consider a scenario where you are working as a developer and you are the only one who is working on the software project, or who is the only one you are the only one who is writing code. So you can replace your imagine yourself here at this place, in place of this fellow writing the code and sitting alone. So you are writing code alone, and sometimes, and I believe most of the time, you say, if I had snapshot of my project of given date, I could have done it easily, or I need my project as it was on given date. So you want your project as it was looking, or the state it was having on a given date or given time. So what do smarter people do to solve this problem? They create folders. That means here you can see student progress. So we create folders with the project name, and after that the date stamp or timestamp. So you create folders with date with it, and copy your actual project and paste it into the directory which is having timestamp or date stamp. So this is what a little smarter people do. But what's wrong with this? There's something wrong. So it's some issues that rise, like you might replace the files with some wrong files, or something could go wrong and you might forget on what directory you are, and you might accidentally replace the files that you didn't want, and there is no way you can roll back. That means there is no way you can get your files back if you have replaced by mistake. So we need something else, or we need some better solution. So we know that we came to a conclusion that we are working alone, and we need something to manage our source code. So now come back to you, and this time you are working in a team. So there are many developers who are working on the same project, and you are one of the team members, or you might be the team leader or something like that. So we need to figure out what's the problem that rise with managing your source code. So here is a picture that shows that only one person is working on a computer and everyone else is looking at him. But this is not the ideal scenario. On a team, everyone is writing some code, that means modifying some file, removing some file, changing some file, or introducing some other file. So everyone will be on that desk, probably with their computers and connected via LAN or internet, and everyone is changing file. So things are not simple when you are working on a team. So managing files, source code files, gets difficult. So you might ask, what are the issues that rise when working on a team and working with a team and developing some software projects? So issues of synchronization rises. It means imagine you are working on a team of 10 developers and one person changed one file, so how everyone else would get that updated file? So you might copy and paste, but copying and pasting which on 10 times is not something feasible. You won't like to do that. You want some sort of automation, and suppose if you are copying and pasting, someone might have changed again some other file in while you are copying. So synchronization of files between team members is a major issue. Second issue could be tracking changes. That means one of the 10 developers change a file, and after a few months you want to know who changed what file did a person change, why the particular file was changed, and so on. This is a big problem when working in a team. That means we need some sort of automation to overcome this problem of tracking changes. Someone might write comments, but that's not a good thing. Third major problem that rises is a short-term and long-term undos. That means you want your project to look as it was before a few minutes, or before a few hours, or even before a few years. This cannot be done with traditional maintaining a file on your local hard drive or on the network, or managing it with zip or something like that. It causes it's an error prone approach. So the issue is short term and long term undos. The fourth issue that rises is about tracking ownership. In the team, you want to know who introduced what file, why he introduced, and how the changes were done to the particular file. So here are the issues that we face. Someone might write things like this, date and change what he did, but this is not something feasible. You are a developer and you should be maintaining your source code, not the comments. So you want some other solution. So you might say things are not working this way. It means storing files on local machine is not working with me, and you might ask for some other solution. So you are looking for a solution. So what's the solution then? The solution is to use a version control system. But what is that? What is version control system? So you can see the version control system as a vault. You can see it as a vault, and all of the developers on your team, or even if you are a single developer working on a project, you are submitting your source code to the vault, and vault is saving your changes. That means it is taking your files, saving it, and whenever you require, it will return back. So it's like a vault that every user on your team submits to. So you might ask, what version control systems are available? So version control system is a concept in which we ask some program to track the changes, and there must be some concrete implementation of version control systems available. So the options could be Git, Bitkeeper, revision control system, Visual Source Safe, or Subversion, or something like Mercurial, or so on. And Git and Bitkeeper. Git is an open source version control system. Subversion is also open source system, but Git popularity of Git is continuously increasing, and popularity of Subversion is decreasing day by day, and major players in the software industry are moving towards Git, like major Google projects like Android are hosted with Git and Apache. Sorry. Uh, some other foundations like Git, like Eclipse Foundation are moving their projects to Git, and they are targeting to move all the projects towards Git. So Git is getting more and more popularity as the day are passing. So after seeing what version control systems are available, we need to categorize them. That means we need to know what type of version control systems are available. It could be local version control system. That means you are working on your computer, you are submitting all the changes to a local software that tracks changes, what file was changed, how it was changed, when it was changed, and by whom it was changed. So it's a local version control system. The limitation of local version control system is that only one person at the time can work, and problem of collaboration rises with local version control system. So to overcome the problem of local version control system, centralized version control systems were invented. And in the centralized version control systems, there is a central location where everyone puts his or her changes. So if you change a file, you tell your central, you put it at some central location, and everyone else will get the change from that central location. But the main problem with centralized version control system is that you can't work offline. That means you must be connected to the network in order to get some changes or put some changes to the files. So the problem of centralized version control system is solved with distributed version control system. In distributed version control system, everyone, that means all of the developers, are having the full copy of what files were changed previously, and you can work offline. And when you think like you should push, that means you should put those changes to the central location, you can get connected and push those changes that you have made to the central location. That means if you have cloned, that means you have a copy of your project, and it's by distributed version control system, you can get a copy, get disconnected, write some changes, commit locally, that means put the track the changes locally done without the network, and when you feel like putting, you can push to the remote location. So are we going to see any version control system in today's presentation? The answer is yes. We will see Git version control system, that is open source and written by Linus Torvald, and it's one of the most famous version control system. It's pretty fast, open source, and you are free to use it with your software project. So it's written in C programming language and is available for most platforms. So before I continue with Git, you might say, hey wait, is Git available for my platform? I work on XYZ operating system. So my answer is yes, Git is available for your platform, as it is written in C. It can be compiled to most major platforms, and its compiled versions are available for Linux, Macintosh, and Windows. So Git is available on your platform, and if not, the source code is always available to you, and you can compile it and start using it. The second question could be, can Git be used with one programming language? The answer is yes. Git sees the source code files as just files. It's not concerned with what is written in the file. So it just tracks it just sees whether the file is changed or not. and if it's changed, it just backs up it in and stores in the vault. So Git is available for your programming language, whether you are using C, C++, Java, Ruby, Python or PHP. You can use Git with your software project to track the changes in your software project. The third question could be, does Git integrate with my IDE? And the answer is yes. The direct plugins are available for use with NetBeans and Eclipse IDE, and if your IDE is not Eclipse based and it's not if your it is not NetBeans, you can still execute the Git. That means you can still use Git from the console. And if you are using Visual Studio, then you can execute Git commands. That means you can use Git via some external commands. So whether on whatever platform you are working on whatever programming language you are working on, and with whatever IDE you are working on, you can still use Git. So let's get started. So here are the few commands. By writing git init, it will initialize a repository. A repository is like a vault. It's a place where everything is stored. All your changes are tracked. When you submit your source code to the version control system, it will store all your source code in the repository. So to initialize a repository in your current directory, you could execute git init and it will initialize a repository in your current directory. That means it will create a .git directory in your current directory and will create some default files, and whenever you ask the Git to track the changes, it will store those changes in the .git directory, that means in the repository. So the second command is git add, and with it I can ask with git add star.java, I can ask Git to add all the files with extension Java to the repository. So it will add all those files to the staging area. With Git, things don't go in the repository directly. All the files are staged first. You can add more files in the staging area as well as remove the files from the staging area. And when you feel like commit, or when you feel like putting those changes, giving those files to the version control system, that means when you want your version control system to track the changes or to store those files in the version control system, you can commit. So with git add, you can put to the staging area, and from the staging area the files will go to the actual repository. With git add readme, I can add a file named readme to the staging area, and when I have finished adding the files or removing files from the staging area, I can directly commit. That means I can put those files in the repository with git commit. With git commit, I can specify -m and then the message. When I execute the .git commit with -m and my message, it will tell that how many files it has changed, how many files are added, and so on, and some more data could be there. So some more commands. Git status will tell the current status of the project. It will tell which files are tracked, which files are modified but not staged, which files are staged, and that will go in the next commit. So with git status, you can view current status of your project and so on. So with the second is git ignore. With this, we can add we can add the names of files or patterns of the files of or folders that will not be tracked by the version control system. That means suppose you are working with Java and you are producing some .class files and you don't want to track those class files with version control system, so you are supposed to add star.class to the git ignore, so that the git will ignore those files and won't ask you to add those files to the version control system. If you have already added file, that means if you are already tracking some files with git and you have already added and you have just modified some contents, you didn't add any more files. So if you want to tell git that you already know what files I am tracking, I have made changes to some of the files, you just see on what files I have made changes and you record what changes I have made with edit benchmark test as a message. So it will commit automatically without adding the file. It will automatically add the files to the staging area and will commit with the same message. You no need to write git add and git commit. You can just do it with a single command. With git rm, you can tell version control to stop tracking some file, or you can rename some file, or you can move some file. That means git will git will store in its files that you have changed name of some file. So another command is git GUI. When you execute it, you will see some GUI like this. It tells what commits are done and commit messages are displayed here. Here who committed some change is displayed. Here date and time of the commit is displayed. Here the details are displayed: who committed, when committed, committer name, email address, parent, and the branch name. Suppose you have multiple branches, then here it would show the branch names, and when you select it, its details would be shown here. And here it tells what changes were done to the main.java in the current commit. So it tells that you added this much content at this line, and here it tells what messages are there, what files it is tracking. So what else is available? You can copy someone else's repository over a network. It means when you copy everything, all the history is available to with you on your computer locally. You can disconnect and start working. You can push to remote repository. That means if you have made some changes and you want everyone else on the team to see those changes, so you can do that with git push. You can get some changes done on some files from remote location. You can tag to release points. That means if some commit you are releasing major release, that means you are releasing major version, then you can tag that commit with some version number. So the main or best feature available with Git is branching. Suppose you are working with multiple version of the same software, like one is for development, one is for production. So you can manage both your branches from same directory. You just need to change your branch, so the branches run parallelly and don't interfere with each other. And in future, suppose you want to merge the development and the other branch, then you can do so. So it's disadvantages come with everything. There are advantages and there are disadvantages. So disadvantages are there, and major two we are discussing. You will still need a backup system. Git tracks changes in the .git directory, but suppose if that directory is deleted, you lose all your previous data. So you still need to take backup, but that's not in the form of directory with timestamp. So the second disadvantage, if there is no central location, you don't immediately know whether to see Alpesh Rana or Abhi for the latest version. That means there must exist some central location where everyone else on your team pushes to. That means everyone must know a location where he or she has to push and from where he or she has to pull. So where should you go if you are excited about using version control system with your next software project? You could refer to one of these two books, or alternatively you can visit official website of Git, that is http://git-scm.com. From here you will be able to download Git and use it as it is free. And you so questions. Thank you.